Hi, this is Pastor Glanville at the Romeo United Methodist Church, and I've been asked to share just a little bit about a journey that my wife and I took place this past summer of 2009. It's a journey that I felt very honored about. I felt very blessed. It was an opportunity for me to actually take some time away from the pastoral ministry after 29 years of being in the ministry and have a chance just to get refreshed and recharged and to see what it is that the Lord would have me do in the years that I have ahead. It was back in the year 2008 that my district superintendent was sharing with me about a particular group called the Lilly Endowment. And this is a group that has made it a goal over the last 8-9 years to encourage pastors with a grant. And it's a grant that can be used in multiple ways, but it's still a grant you have to apply for. Not everybody gets it. They sometimes get 500 different applications of people from various denominations requesting this grant. And it's something that you do with your church. And so I discussed it with our church in 2008. And we talked about the idea, could I possibly submit a proposal? And with this proposal, what we would ask for is that a portion of the grant funds could be used to have a pastor come and be an interim minister to take my place while I was gone. And the good news is that my particular proposal was accepted, and we called it Retreat, Research, and Reunite. And it was an opportunity for me to spend some time away in some retreat settings, to visit some other local churches in Michigan to see how they do ministry and see if there's things we could apply back here at Romeo. It was an opportunity for me to travel overseas in the footsteps of the Apostle Paul. And then the last part of the segment of my proposal was a chance for me to connect with my family again. Lisa and I, my wife and I, we have 4 children, and 2 of them live out of state. And it's amazing. You would think that we could get together once in a while, but for the last 3 years, we have not, all 6 of us have not been together. And so we had a grand time reconnecting that way as well. Well, let me tell you a little bit about what happened with our proposal and with the grant and how it all worked out. It was something that we applied for and we received it. There was 133 congregations and pastors that received the grant the last time, 20 different denominations from 36 different states. And in the state of Michigan, there were 9 churches that received the grant. 2 of them happened to be Methodist. There was some Lutheran, a Presbyterian, there was a Mennonite, I think a Reformed church, but all different denominations you can see and all different proposals. And the major thing that we were hoping to do, as I said, was to travel in the footsteps of the Apostle Paul. And so for 29 days, my wife and I had a chance to travel throughout Greece. We were in Italy, where Paul was in prison in Rome. We had a chance to travel around the Mediterranean. One of the things that we followed was the missionary journeys that Paul had in the book of Acts. And we know of 3 missionary journeys that Paul speaks about, but there's also a hint of a 4th possible one, as Paul speaks about Spain. And so we even had a chance to go over to Spain. Had an opportunity to go to Tunisia, which is in northern Africa, where Carthage, there's the ruins of Carthage. And Carthage was originally Greek, but of course the Romans came in. They were the dominant power after Greece, and they came in all these areas. And it was kind of a phenomenal thing to go to all these various ruins and to see areas that were so dry, so rocky, so mountainous, also very pagan, and to realize that Christianity was going to be birthed in some of these locations. One of the favorite places that we enjoyed was in Turkey, a place called Ephesus. And Turkey used to be called Asia Minor. And if you have ever read any of the book of Revelation, if you get into chapters 2 and 3, you'll discover 7 churches that are listed in Revelation. Well, the very first church that's listed is the church at Ephesus. And this is a church that Paul would have started. Paul spent about 27 months in Ephesus, and this is an area that, again, just very, very pagan. They had a a great temple called the Temple of Artemis that was located. It was huge. It was larger than a football field. And all of us know that a football field is 300 feet long, 160 feet wide. Well, the Temple of Artemis was 425 feet long. It was 225 feet wide, I believe. Had 120 columns all around it. They were 60 feet tall. This was a place that people came, and there were these priestesses that were really sacred prostitutes that used to go to the city, and this is how they made money for their goddess, the goddess Artemis. And they had this grand theater in this city that could hold 24,000 people in this outside theater. And on one occasion, the men of the city, who have been making silver shrines, and they have been making amulets and charms, and this was their business, because millions of people would come to this city of 250,000, and they would sell these things as people would buy them for good luck, or maybe for healing, or so their wife could get pregnant. Well, Paul is saying anything that's made by hand cannot be a god. And he's saying that gods that are made by hands, no, they're not a God at all. Let me tell you who the true God is. Well, Christianity began to impact, to start having inroads in Ephesus, to the point now it's now impacting the business. And so at one particular occasion, we see Paul actually being accused of causing all kinds of problems. And in this great theater I was talking about, there is an uproar for 2 hours that takes place as the people are now realizing that Artemis, their great goddess, is in jeopardy. Well, those are just some of the stories and some of the experiences that we had. And we had other stories and things we experienced in Athens, as all of you are familiar with the Parthenon on top of the Acropolis, and that's really the Temple of Athena. And that's another place where Paul was at, and had a chance to speak with the Greeks and to talk to them again about that, who really is the true God, and that as conversions took place there. And what's amazing, if you go to these places today, if you went to Greece today, where at one time we have all these, gods and goddesses, now we have the Greek Orthodox Church. It's the predominant faith there. If you were to go to Italy, where, there's the center of Roman power there in Rome. Of course, we have the Vatican there, but Italy now is Roman Catholic. That would be the predominant faith there. So it's kind of an amazing thing to think that at one time we have this one belief system, and then Christianity was able to make such an impact. So those are some of the things that, as we were journeying and traveling, that we were trying to discover and to see just the sovereign power of God, and to see how God was moving amongst His people, and what was happening. And yet the sad news is, at least for me, and I don't really have any facts on this, it's more of an impression I have, as we were traveling to a lot of these locations, and we saw these beautiful churches and colossal churches, and we would look, and it was like, well, who's even going to these churches anymore? We would see a few pews, maybe the inside, but it seemed like a lot of times it was being supported by tourists, that the tourists were the ones that were really supporting these facilities. And so maybe that's the sad commentary. And again, I have no facts to back this up. Again, it was just more of an impression, as we had a chance to, travel to places like Florence, and we went to southern Italy and Pompeii and saw the ruins there. And but the good news was, through all of this, it gave me a chance, as I took pictures, we took digital photos. I had a little mini DVD camera, and I've been able to share this with our congregation. And I've been able now to just share the Scripture in a way to try to bring it alive for the congregation. And so that part has been very, very exciting for us. Other things that I've had a chance to do was to glean, had a chance to travel to 7 other churches during the summer, and to see how they do worship and how they do just various aspects of their whole organization. And it was helpful for me, just little things I would pick up here and there and saying, oh, I wonder if that would work, back here in our community. Not that we want to duplicate things, but a lot of times you can pick up some ideas and thoughts. And since I'm preaching every Sunday, I don't get a chance to go to other churches. And so it was wonderful for me to experience that. A little side blessing that happened is that my grandmother, and I'll call this an answer to